So our service has just started. We thank God, and we just opened with a word of prayer. Today we are going to talk about Daniel. Most of us have heard about Daniel, so I'll be doing a lot of reading because it's teaching. We all know Daniel. Some know them as a prophet, some know him with the name, the man who was put into the den of lions. We have all stories, and we have heard songs about Daniel and his victories. The amazing thing about Daniel is that Daniel successfully, that's what I was learning, that he successfully served under different kings. And one of the king is Nebuchadnezzar, Belshazzar, and he served in Darius' kingdom and in Cyrus' kingdom. And I was wondering, how did this man transit in all these areas? And he was a slave, somebody who had been one of the captives. And I was wondering, how does this man make it all through? And yet it's a different kingdom. And so, have you ever wondered that there are people who are pushed into bad places, but instead of things going wrong for them, they just go on the top? Instead of things, Daniel is here, they are told, don't worship, you only need to bow down to this kind of statue, but he's doing the opposite. But he's just passing through. The same story with Joseph. Joseph was put in prison, executed. You put him in Potiphar's house, he's on top. He goes to Egypt, he still comes on top. And the story has just been captivating. So Daniel successfully served under 4 kings. And he just always moved on the top. The same way we were talking about Joseph in Genesis. And so, if you look at our country today, Kenya is, or the whole world is in recession. We are facing all kinds of shortages. Some people have all kinds of excuses of why they are not succeeding or doing well. And regardless of the situation, there are some people who are doing good. There's some people who are just okay. Regardless of what is happening, there are some people just making it in this life. I once said, Donald Trump once said one thing, that most of his major big businesses, he started them when the market was bad. And so I look at it, there are people who are making it regardless of the situation. And you look at these guys, you look at Daniel, regardless of the situation, he was just making it to the top. He was just moving to the top. And what was the reason? Daniel was sold out to God. His heart was totally sold out to God. And no matter the situation, he could pursue God's will. And so, in everything, he had attributes that were so unique in him. And so, we look at him, he is not also the most educated person, although he was educated, but wasn't most educated. Daniel was fortunate, but he wasn't the most fortunate. He had friends of high places, but so did other people. However, Daniel was singled out by every administration as one of the people who operated in excellence. And so you realize there's something that Daniel used to do. When you are totally sold out to God, God gives you skill and God gives you knowledge. Because I look at Daniel in his situation after his going persecution, thrown in the den of lions, but it happens out of there. The king has a dream and he wants an interpreter of the dreams. And so Daniel comes and tells him, let's give us some time, we will interpret the dreams. And so, because he's sold out to God, God is still using him and giving him knowledge here and there. And so, in Daniel 1:9, um, we read, and the king communed with them, and among them all was found none like Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Therefore they stood before the king. When you talk of Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah, we know them as Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Those were names, and it's funny, even these guys going there, they were given different names. Why? They wanted to disconnect them from their belief to get into a new system, which they still did not conform to that system. And so they had tried. So Daniel 1:20, and in all matters of wisdom and understanding, the king inquired of them. He found them 10 times better than all magicians and astrologers that were in all the realm. And when you jump to Daniel 5:12, it says, for as much as an excellent spirit and knowledge and understanding and interpreting of dreams and showing of hard sentences and dissolving doubts were found in the same Daniel, whom the king Belshazzar now let Daniel be called, and he show the interpretation. You realize that after time goes by, Daniel is used in different ways. And so he's a man, number one, we look at he was committed. Daniel was committed. And so I was looking at this word crime. Anyone who understands the word crime? You know, it's a crime.
Crime.
Yeah. Okay, I'll define the word crime. Crime is an action or an instance of negligence that is deemed injurious to a public welfare or morals or to the interests of the state, and that is legally prohibited. Criminal activities to those who engage in it, to fight crime, a habitual frequent commission of crime. So it's something, for instance, negligence that is deemed injurious to public welfare or morals. Like now in Kenya, walking without a mask is a crime because it's gazetted. It's a crime. So when you walk, if a police will get you, they will be very happy. You will know, here I'm finding some money, someone will have to give me something. And so I saw one guy was really adamant in Eldoret until they released him. He said, I cannot wear a mask. Even he was telling the police, even if you put a gun here, I cannot. He was so daring, I cannot wear a mask. And I'm not. They were asking him why. He told them, I cannot wear a mask. Even if you want to jail me, jail me. But I cannot wear a mask. And so it's deemed as a crime. Now, do you ever ask yourself that there are crimes that are not sinful? Like what Daniel did, was it sinful? Refusing to bow to the king, was it sinful? But it was a crime. So he deserved a sentence. It was not sinful, but he deserved a sentence. To that kingdom, that was a crime. And so he deserved a sentence. I'm defining it in that way. So I was like, okay, this guy has done a crime which is not sinful. But because the rules were like that, he was, a sentence was passed on him. So Daniel was committed. He was a committed man. He was committed to God. Commitment is the desire to remain faithful. That I am committed. I am committed to my relationship. I am committed to what I'm doing. I'm committed to my call. That I'm going to remain faithful. The desire to remain faithful. Proverbs 3:1, my son, forget not my law, but let thine heart keep thy commandments. So Daniel was committed in 3 areas. He was committed in maintaining his own conviction. He did not try to impose convictions upon others, but maintained his conviction. and he lived out his convictions, it lifted him among his employers. Now, because he was a man of God and the Spirit of God was in him, he believed what he was doing was right, as much as it had consequences. You remember when he was thrown in the den of the lions, they were expecting him, he will die, he will be eaten by the lions, and it did not happen. Why? He was committed to his God, and he was sure of his God no matter what happens. What to say, kufa makanga kufa dereva. Like, I am committed to my God. There's that saying that kufa makanga kufa dereva. He was sold out. No matter what happens, even if I am killed for the sake of God, I am committed to my own conviction. So I am not going to do as this kingdom wants me to do. I'm going to do as the kingdom of God is supposed to be done. So Daniel was committed to his own conviction. And I love it that he did not force his conviction on others. That I'm doing this, do this. So I'm doing this, please do this. He allowed himself to do what God wanted, and that lifted him among his employers. So he lived out of his convictions. So when you live out of the convictions that are in the will of God, God will always be with you. The other thing, number second, that Daniel was committed, he was committed to giving his best to every kingdom. Whenever he went, he always gave his best. There are some, on the other hand, that wherever they go, they always cause a problem. Have you ever met people wherever they go, they will always cause a problem? They will always be chaotic, like something will happen. Like, you know, he will just cause drama, she will cause drama. Yani, that is how they were known. But Daniel was so unique that he could not cause a problem. And, you know, people go, wherever they go, they always cause a problem. They are not comfortable unless there is a problem. Daniel, however, was the exact opposite. Everywhere he was placed, he was a blessing and things improved. He was not a chaotic man. Now, imagine this. Daniel was one of the people who were captured during the Babylon system. He was like kidnapped. And you're imagining you're kidnapped and placed somewhere. But he's not having any beef, any bile in him. You know, that is just so unique. I know, I can imagine myself being kidnapped now, how I can cause drama if given space. You know, I want to go home, I want to fight. But this guy was just so unique that he was just the exact opposite of what I can be, or some of us could be, or anyone could be. So everywhere he was placed, he became a blessing. Are you a blessing wherever you are? Or are you a drama king or queen where you are? Can people learn or tap something from you wherever you walk, or wherever you stay, or wherever you are? Or when we come to the neighborhood, tasikia, ule mse wa vita ni wewe anakuja. Daniel was a blessing. So the first attribute we see, he was committed. The other one, other second thing of the attributes of Daniel, he was competent. The skills to contribute. Proverbs 3:5, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not into your own understanding. Daniel was competent in several areas. Listen, it's never enough just to be committed and faithful. You need to be competent, especially if you get paid to do what you do. If you volunteer, it's great to be faithful. We want them to show up, but we want them to do something after they show up. And we want them to be competent about what they are being assigned to do. It helps to have a competent volunteer. Competency is critical. Now, let's look at how Daniel was competent. He was competent in wisdom and understanding. Competency is not just showing up or doing what you have been assigned to do. Competency is about doing more than what was assigned, and doing is better than what doing it better than what is expected. That I'm doing what I'm assigned, but doing it better than I am expected. Sometimes I talk to guys who are new in our company and I tell them, when you come to a new company, don't just come and get muzzled and get yourself in the system and be okay. I do tell them, try to do something different. It may not be adopted, but try to go out. One of our admin always says, think as if there is no, you are not outside the box, not inside the box. Think like the box is also not there. And so it's not, people get muzzled, they enter the system and they get comfortable in the system. I tell people, learn to do something extraordinary, different than what your founders doing. It, as much as it may not be adopted, but just bring it out, share ideas, because we are not locked to share ideas. So Daniel was competent and he did what he could do in the best way and beyond what people expected. So people just do what is asked to be done, are very easy to replace. They are easy to replace. Daniel not only did the job, but also understood why he was doing what he was doing, what it meant, and how to make it better. He was competent in wisdom and understanding. So you will be competent in wisdom and understanding if you sold out to God. So he was also competent in specific areas. For many of us have very skilled tasks. Do you ever in life, even me, I'm guilty as charged, like we have great ideas. We have great ideas. And we can talk about ideas of business and everything. But it just happens we don't implement them. And I got to a point where I feel the world does not need ideas. It needs ideas and implementing them. Because when we have ideas, some of us just die with ideas. Why? We're not implementing them. Some of us, they are in mind. None has ever taken a pen and written them down that this is what I want to do. Like now, I've been just going through the files in the office and I found a 10 years plan for STR. So I have put it aside and said, okay, I'm going to read what Dad had in mind and what he was planning. And so it's good that ideas, as much as we put them in writing, we implement them. And so that is the issue. So Daniel had the wisdom and understanding, and he did what he was doing. So for many of us have very skilled specific tasks. You will find there are people who are good in finance, people who are good in music, people who are good, they have those good ideas. And you have to be competent in your specific area of training. Daniel was competent in the specific areas, which is, he was a man full of literature, science, and engineering. So the king brought them so that they could oversee areas of education and science in the kingdom, because that is why when Judah was, when they were being held captive, the kings ordered that look for wise men among them. They did not just pick everybody. So they looked. Daniel was among the wise men who were picked during that time when people are being held captive. And so you ought to be competent in the area that you are. Competent means being better than good, but well trained in what you do. Being better than good. So there is a difference of good and better. Good, you go to better. So being better than good. So he was competent also more enough than one setting. He could multitask. He could do more than one thing at the same time. Now, this is helpful because in these difficult times, when one thing is no longer needed, you can move to another thing, something else. He carried his competency from one administration to the other. The other day, there was some weeks back, when people were discussing career issues. And I know we have a teacher, please don't be offended. But the talk was, and I know it offended many people, it was a fight, and it was a heated debate on social media. And one of the radio presenters just said this: now teachers need to like switch their career because things are uncertain, and people got bitter with that. And I felt that guy has not spoken anything wrong, and people have shifted. I see a teacher, there's a guy I know, he's a teacher, he has a car. Anauza vitunguu pale karibu Millennium and tomatoes, and the way he started, and now he's just big. Like I passed there nikishuka, he's just big, he's grown. Now ameongeza stock and he's doing what he's doing. And so sometimes we need to be competent in that area, that we are flexible, that when things come up, I am flexible, I can do something else, not that I'm just confined. And I was telling them, like, the job I'm doing, it's not mine, it's not what I went to school to do. I did IT, and now I'm doing marketing. So it's not what I did literally in school. So we need to be flexible. And for me, if there is something that someone is willing to let me learn, I'll do it with all my heart, that because I would love to grow. And so do whatever you do competently and be flexible. So Daniel was a man who knew how to multitask and cut through. So he carried his competency from one administration to the other. So the third attribute of Daniel, he was courageous, which is having a heart to serve. Proverbs 3:6, in all ways acknowledge him and he shall direct your path. It takes a lot of courage to serve people. And somebody said you have to be crazy a lot and a little bit courageous to serve people. Daniel had the courage to serve a vision with his all. Now, it takes a lot of courage being in a kingdom and you've been given instructions and you're going against instructions because you believe in your God. For me, that was a lot of courage. And the funniest thing, that satraps or people have been set to be monitoring you, how you are doing your life, and then they go and they say you to the king and tell you that this man is not doing what the king has instructed to do. We look at Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego, the same thing. These guys are not doing what they're supposed to do. But that took courage. So regardless of who they are, they served. Daniel served his vision with his all. Courage to put aside issues from the past. Now remember, Daniel was kidnapped. He was taken into captivity by Nebuchadnezzar. He had a right to be upset and stuck. Daniel, however, put aside those issues. Daniel recognized that God put him in that place, and then he brings skill that can bring change. Now, have you ever at some point been at a place where maybe you just don't like, or you didn't want to be? Instead of being bitter or angry, have you ever questioned yourself and asked yourself, why am I here? Why am I here today? Why am I in this office today where people are quarreling, people hate me, don't want me? Why am I here? And I think that gives us an insight that wherever you are at some point, always learn to ask yourself first, before you get angry, before you get mad at people, before you start, there are those points where we feel like, God, why did you do this to me? Why? Ask God, why, God, am I here? Daddy, why am I in this position? Why am I in this office that people don't like me? Or I'm seeing this happening. Why have you brought me here? And so Daniel was so wise, and he understood that God did not just he did not just come there for the sake of coming there. He had something that was to be fulfilled in that place. And that is why you realize that when the king had dreams, nobody could interpret the dreams until Daniel was called and he interpreted dreams. And so maybe wherever you are, learn to be patient and understand God's will about your life and what he wants out of you in that place. Learn to know when to be angry and when to be bitter. Today I woke up, I was listening to the song Nifundishe Kunyamaza. So learn to know when to talk and learn to know when not to talk. Learn to know when to be angry. I have been. There was a point I was angry at God. I was really angry at God. There was a time I really needed a job, and I need this job. I've done an interview. You know, you have a Godfather and everything around, and I'm not employed. And I've been working at that place as a casual laborer for around 3 years. And I miss out the slot. So, I go following up. I'm just so angry. I am following up and I'm told there are some slots that are still, will happen. And then it never happens. And the least people you thought will not get the chance, they have gotten it. And it was what now made me much angry. The office I was, a guy was brought. Actually, he comes from this neighborhood that I know. Nilikuwa namsaidia mpaka kujaza chief. Anauliza chief ni nani? Na tunakaa naye kwa ofisi moja. Yaani hiyo nafasi niko. Nilikuwa nafikiria nitapewa. Anakuja na anajaza employment form nikiwa after watu washafanya interview. He was employed. He got the job. And so I am going to church. I'm so angry at God. I need a job. I'm looking at how I thought I could help my brothers. My brother is just done standard 8 and I was thinking I'm going to help pay fees. And it's not happening. And later I realized that is not where God wants me to. I was asking God, and then I just quit and I left. And I told God, now I want you to order me to where you want me to be. And God started leading my path. So Daniel put aside his issues. He recognized God and he had the courage to die for the vision he had. How many of us today have the courage to die for the vision you have? If God told you today, go to Somalia, will you go? If God told you. I think for me, I'll still bargain at some point. I wonder, what am I going to do in Somalia? Because I have seen it. I have seen life there. I've seen some videos there. I saw a documentary that was so hurtful in Mogadishu. There is a place where madmen wamefungiwa. Wengi, and they are very, very violent. So kila mtu amejengewa katenda. Wengine wamefungwa kwa nyororo mpaka minyororo zinawakata miguu. They are suffering. And so I believe if God told me to go, maybe I'll still bargain. But if he instructed me, Daniel was ready to die for his vision. That no matter what, he was willing to go in the den of lions, but stand for the truth. And so he was ready to die for his vision. So are you ready to die for your vision? Are you ready to